Hello, everyone. Welcome to Agency Rainmaker TV, where we look at how do you make it rain for the agency. We have a special guest today, Erik Jensen from Predictive ROI. Welcome, Erik. What are you going to talk about today?
Well, thanks for having me, Henry. I'm excited to be here, and I think we're going to talk today about niching. It's something that a lot of agencies really struggle with for a variety of different reasons, but a lot of it comes down to fear of what niching actually means for their agency, whether or not that's going to make a huge difference on their business development, their sales process, whether they got to say goodbye to half their existing clients. There's all sorts of beliefs and myths and fears around niching down. Even though the research shows, and this is research that we've done, this is research that others have done, that agencies that niche are more profitable, their sales cycles are shorter, they keep their clients longer, and they get paid more for the work that they do.
There you go. So Erik and I have something in common. We both run agencies that help agencies.
It is true.
You're a seven-figure agency that helps agencies, strategic consultants, business coaches fill their pipelines with right fit prospects. And I've enjoyed working with you and your team. They're just very sharp. But let me ask you the who question. So how do you define the who that you work with at Predictive ROI?
Yeah, great question. So we serve agencies and consultants, and they generally run between $2 and $10 million in revenue. And they're really interested in having a position of authority that they can monetize so they can stop being the cobbler's kids and they can even out the feast and famine of their biz dev.
And you have different programs. I know you have the starting block. Could you talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of different ways that we help agencies. You can kind of think of it as two different tracks. So one of them is the teach track, and we have a variety of different coaching and training programs. And then we have the do track, and that's where we actually take the work in-house and we help agencies actually get the stuff done. So starting block is on the teach track, that side of the work that we do. And starting block is really kind of the easiest program for a lot of folks to be able to step in with Predictive. And we go through some very simple exercises to help them understand who is it that they should actually be niching around, what is it that they should actually be selling, so their hero offer, and then how they can go about selling that hero offer with a couple of really straightforward tactics and strategies to help get the revenue in the door. We're big believers in the shortest path to revenue.
So may I pay you a compliment?
Well, I mean, I won't say no.
Well, where do you hear it? I'm going to say there's never been a spreadsheet that Erik didn't like.
This is true.
And not making you too geeky or nerdy, but what I like about you is you're about measuring, and it's a scientific process. And you don't really come off as geeky and nerdy, but it's like that quote from Lord Kelvin: if what you know cannot be measured, your knowledge is of a meager and unsatisfactory kind. And your knowledge is not meager or unsatisfactory. So let's talk about the what you do. What do you do to help agencies on these different tracks? Let's dive deeper there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do really help a lot of people or a lot of agencies first go narrow. That's the niching, that's planting their flag. That's really getting into the root of what it is that they do. But we do that for a couple of really straightforward reasons, right? So we believe that most agencies go about sales in the most painful, least productive way possible. And there are really kind of three main keys to success with agencies when it comes to the sales front. And that is they have to grow their audience. They have to nurture the leads that they actually have. That means that they can't send out their monthly newsletter twice a year. And there are a few things that they can do to make sales much faster, smoother, and easier than what they currently do. And so that comes from having an appropriate value ladder, making sure that they have the right sales conversations, making sure that they have the right sales team and how it's structured, even if that's just you as an agency owner who's doing all the sales roles, you still need to understand them so that you can make the best use out of your time instead of spinning your wheels on kind of useless activity. So when we talk about those three main strategies, like I said, for growing their audience, one of the things that we really help agencies do is, again, go narrow, really think about who they want to serve, how they want to serve them, and the sort of work that they should be doing, where when a client walks in the door, they almost like high five each other or do a fist bump in the air, because like, yes, we are going to crush it for this particular group of people, or this particular agency, or this particular client with this particular problem. And so for anybody that wants to really try this exercise to see if they have gone narrow, there's a really simple thing that you can do, a litmus test. We call it the XYZ statement. And that is, we help X do Y so they can Z. All right. We help X do Y so they can Z. So you can imagine if you have one target market and you have one thing that you help them do and one outcome that they're going to get from that, that statement is probably pretty straightforward for you to be able to stay. If, on the other hand, you have three target markets that you help solve three different problems and get a variety of different outcomes from, that statement goes from being a sentence to being a paragraph or half a page or maybe a full page, depending on how much you want to pack in there. And all of us, all of our businesses are known, whether we control what we're known for or not. We're known for something. We are the X agency, or we are the X guy or gal or person. And so the more that we try to pack into that statement, the less clear that is for the world around us to be able to say, oh, you're the X guy, right? So in your case, Henry, being able to go, oh, right, you're the Forbes guy. Yeah. People can click on that. Or, oh, Henry, you're the agency marketing book guy, right? It's succinct, it's clear, it's easy for someone to understand what it is that you're bringing to the table in a way that's interesting to them. But if you said, I do 18 different things, now I get to choose what it is that you are. And I'm probably not going to say the thing that you hope I'm going to say.
We've done tests here too, and we find out that in a week's time, people can only remember 10% of what you said, and actually 5% of it is wrong. So I've seen it work. Oh, well, now, for full disclosure, Erik has been my strategy coach, and we said, oh, the success will be when people start referring to me as the agency book guy. Well, we just got back from the Build a Better Agency Summit, and there were 300 agency leaders there. And without my prompting, people were introducing me each other as just, he's the book guy. And I thought, oh, they even shortened it. I'm just the book guy.
Right. And they didn't need to shorten it in that context because everybody in the room was an agency owner, right?
Right. No, he's our book guy.
Right.
Also, we tested an XYZ for me before I went and cut it in half, and it turned into I help agency owners market with a book and a speech by publishing a book they're proud of. And that was the test. And when I would say a book that they were proud of, they visibly lit up. It was emotional that, yeah, that's what I want. Because a lot of people have seen schlocky, cruddy, self-published books that aren't doing anybody any good.
Well, and you nailed it, right? In that you want to get a visceral reaction. So if when you're doing your XYZ statement, you by chance say something like, we help so-and-so get clarity around their problems. That's what everybody says. So I would recommend you don't use the word clarity in any sort of XYZ statement.
Yes.
But instead aim for those emotions, those concrete outcomes, those visceral feelings that as soon as you say it, like, people get it. A book I could be proud of. Ooh. I mean, who doesn't hear that and go, yeah, I would love to write a book I'm proud of.
Yeah. Well, and when you talk about predictable, revenue, who doesn't get a visceral reaction in the agency world? Because, you mentioned the cobbler's children. The other common one is the revenue roller coaster. And I can tell you, my wife never liked riding the revenue roller coaster.
Yeah, the
It was
revenue
not a
roller
fun ride
coaster.
for her.
It can be very stressful on not only ourselves, but on the relationships around us. That includes both in the business and outside of the business. So yeah, and part of that is a little bit of the reality of running a business. However, there are ways to mitigate that quite a bit by how you go about your nurture process and how you go about your sales process. So typically what we see a lot of agencies doing, and this is not to call anybody out, this is just something we see a lot of, and that is, great, we have all these clients where we are just slammed. We are up to our eyeballs in work. We're doing great work for these clients. We're going to get to biz dev someday. We're going to make sure that we grow our list someday. We're going to get to our own stuff someday. But I mean, clients got to come first, right? That's where the revenue is coming from. We have to make sure that that comes first. And I get that, right? You have to serve your customers. However, then what happens is we go through what every agency goes through. And that is the average agency has about a 30% attrition rate every year of clients. That could be because they're no longer right fit. That could be because there was a change in leadership within the company or the client. That could be because, the industry that they were in went through a really tough time and they need to come back. You name it, right? There's reasons why that happens. Okay. But if you're like a typical agency, you've got about a 30% attrition rate. And that means all of a sudden that, oh my gosh, we have so much work, is going to all of a sudden start to dip. And then this is when agencies go, oh my gosh, we got to restart all these things. We got to get our own stuff out there. We got to start all these sales conversations. We got to reboot that newsletter that we haven't looked at for 3 months. We got to put out some blog posts really quickly. And one, that adds a ton of stress to the agency. It adds a ton of stress to the team. But what a lot of agencies don't realize is that from the outside, it looks really schlocky, right? So if I'm trusting your agency to do good work for me as a company, what you're showing me is that you're completely inconsistent. You're demonstrating every day that you don't have your stuff together if you're putting out content in this sort of way. If you're going through your business development efforts in this sort of way, right? I'm looking to an agency to be able to help me solve my own problems. It's less attractive to have an agency that looks like they've got all sorts of problems themselves, right? Consistency.
A hot mess. My agency is a hot mess. Yeah,
right.
that's
It's
not
okay.
attractive.
All businesses are a little bit of a hot mess inside. I am not pretending that everybody has got it all together. But what I am saying is there's a very visible part of your agency out there. And that is your marketing and your biz dev efforts. And if that looks and feels like a hot mess, everyone can see it.
Erik, the other side of that is when people tell me, well, they're a little proud. They go, all of our business comes from referrals. And I always say, I'm so sorry to hear that. You're only getting half the business you should then.
Well, and there's a great question to ask folks that say, we get all our business from referral. And one, great, like take all the business you can from referral. Generally speaking, again, according to the research, referral clients are more profitable. Referral clients have a shorter sales cycle. Referral clients stay with you longer. They trust your recommendations more, and they're better fit culturally because you've had someone say, hey, you should get to know these guys. Someone has already done the pre-selection for you from a culture standpoint. So there's a ton of power in it. And same with word of mouth and all those other sorts of things. But when you're relying on biz dev, running your business, running your agency off of referral, my question is, cool, tell me the next 3 referrals that you're going to get and from who, so that you can plan what you're going to be doing with your agency. Can you name the person that's going to send you that referral?
Erik, let me switch gears back to the niche. So a niche is not just picking an industry. I mean, we've
No.
said industries that we're after, but when you teach your Who framework, you teach that there are several things that you could use to niche. And I don't want to put words in
Yes.
your mouth. That's unsanitary. But for an example, you might know the moms and baby market better than anybody.
Right. Yeah. So that's an
What are some other
example
examples
of,
we might give them?
yeah. So the best way to kind of describe your options as far as niche goes, niche, really, that's the first question we should have addressed in this entire video, is how to pronounce it. But we'll go with niche for this part of the conversation. So the way to think about niche is, imagine a telescope. So a telescope is made up of multiple lenses inserted. And as you insert more lenses, you can see further, more clearly, and you can see and you see a smaller portion of the sky, right? And so what our goal here is, we want to add in lenses for businesses. Now, typically agencies really fit well with about 3 to 5 lenses. Okay, so industry is one of those lenses. That's fine, but industry alone is not ideal. So let's say you work with healthcare and finance and dog toys, right? And you're like, I don't know, we just happen to get those clients through our referrals and our word of mouth, right? And we go, okay, great. How are you going to do your XYZ statement about that? How are you going to create content around that? You're going to have to look for something that binds them together, because just those industries isn't enough to add clarity, right? What it's like is sitting on a 3-legged stool that has no top. It's a very uncomfortable seat. All right. So instead, you look for additional lenses that you can put in there, and you can say, well, all of those are regulated. All of those are highly regulated as far as what you can talk about, what you can say. Awesome. That's a lens. That's a problem that these industries face that you are particularly adept at being able to solve. Great. Now start adding in other lenses. Is there a geography? Is there a sophistication level of the clients that you like to work with? Like, maybe they've never worked with an agency before, or God forbid, we never want to do that. We only want to work with people that have worked with other agencies before, right? It could be the service line that you offer. It could be your particular experience. And to your point, it could be the audience, right? We understand moms and babies better than anybody else. That's a fantastic lens to be able to go, this is who we serve. It clarifies who you help, right? But it also cuts out a lot of that extra open sky that you don't necessarily want to serve, right? And so putting these lenses in place, you don't need a ton of them, but you do need typically several of them, because every time you add a lens, you're reducing the number of other agencies and consultants that you are competing with.
It could be the service you offer, that you are just really the specialist, all-knowing in that service area.
Yep. Service lines are best, or products are best as a filter or a niche if they are technical and a little bit scary. So an example of that would be like SEO or website development or things along those lines. Most people don't know how to approach those. Where it gets a little bit more difficult is, let's say, if you were trying to niche around just writing. Right. Just writing is so broad that a lot of people have their own idea of what it should be, or just niching around creative is going to be a hard one to do. But again, even with, let's say, the technical thing of SEO for who, right? And what is the specific problem that you're solving with your SEO? Are you like friggin' awesome at making site speed a priority and making the clients that you work with, their websites just run super, super fast? Are you really good at finding backlinks and things that are going to be able to drive traffic? Or are you really good at finding those little nuanced keywords that no one else can find, that is going to make all the difference in finding the right people to go to the website, rather than just anybody go to the website, right? Because there's a lot of SEO companies out there that might go, oh, look, we can increase traffic. And you go, great. What did they show up for? Well, we found this really great keyword for purple feather boas. And you go, well, we don't sell purple feather boas. And they're like, no, we get it. But we got a lot of traffic for purple feather boas, so we did good. right? So if you're specializing in a particular problem, even if you have a technical service line, it still helps. And then if you say, we do this, right? We do SEO, and we specialize in site speed. And by the way, we also specialize in this particular industry. Now you've got 3 lenses together. How many other SEO companies are you competing against?
Perfect way to wrap it up. Erik, there's so much we could talk about. I'd like to have you back as a guest on the show, and I'll be
Awesome.
offering that invitation. Thanks so much, everybody, and look forward to seeing you on another episode of Agency Rainmaker TV.